Okay, welcome to an R demo. This demo, what we're going to do is read in a comma separated values file from a sensor. We are going to do this using read_CSV from the Tidyverse. And I'm going to do it a couple different ways. And just to one other thing to point out, this is a fairly well formatted CSV file. There will be another video, or there is another video that will show you how to read and kind of clean up a similar sensor file that has some issues that are relatively common in sensor data files. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is open an R script. So we can click up here and just open an R script. Now you could do this in a notebook or R Markdown, but just to keep things extra simple, we're just going to open an R script, which is just basically a blank text document. So the first thing that we're going to do is load the Tidyverse library. And you can see it gives you a list of packages that you have installed. And so Tidyverse is what I want to load. Now, if that didn't pop up, that means that you don't have the Tidyverse installed. And so you could install Tidyverse one of two ways. You could do install.packages and then Tidyverse, and you only have to do that once unless you need to update it or you install RStudio again. So that's one way. I'm not going to do that because I've already got it installed. The other way is you could go to packages down here, click install and type Tidyverse here, and then click install. Be sure you have this install dependencies checked here or else it might not work. So in further videos past this early one, I will just load Tidyverse and not talk about how to download it, just to cut down on time. So we can do that, and to run this line, we can do this a number of different ways. We could highlight it and click run. We could highlight it and hit Command return on a Mac or Control Enter on a PC. I think that's what it is. Either way will work. So you can also just copy and paste it down into your console down here. And you can see that Tidyverse loaded. So that gives us access to the read_CSV function, which if we start typing read underscore, you see that we have it here. So if that doesn't pop up, that means that your library didn't install properly. So we need to find our file so that we can load it and read it into a variable or an object, which will pop up here in our environment. Right now, our environment's empty, which means we don't have any data that we can mess with. So there's a couple different ways to do this. The first way I'm going to show you is just finding where the file is. And so I already have it here, just so I don't have to show you all of my messy folder organization. But if you click home and then I clicked on my downloads, and then the folder that it's in is demo data. So I brought up, I can see the file here. A really easy way to get the directory to point R to where this file is to just go to more here and copy folder path to clipboard. So if we do that, and then we can go up here and paste, it gives us where our folder is. Because right now, if you just tell R, I want to download test sensor.csv, it doesn't know where that file is. So you're going to get an error. So this tells us where it is. So that's the folder that it's in. So if we put a slash after it and then test sensor.csv, that will take us to the actual file. So I'm going to leave that there for now. And then I'm going to put together the read CSV line. So we want to, let's call our data just data, and we're going to use the assignment operator to send what comes out of read CSV into a named object. So now I'm going to type read_CSV, and at its core, we just need to give read_CSV the location of the file. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut this, paste it in here. And since this is a text input, we want to put it in quotes. A nice shortcut for doing that in RStudio is you can highlight the whole thing and then just type a quote and it puts the whole thing in quotes, which is really nice. Now, let's go ahead and read this in and see what it does. And it's not going to work for this file in this format. If everything was formatted properly, it would, but we have a little issue that we're going to see. So if I run this, you can see that it worked, right? I get data, here's data. And we can click on data here and see what our object looks like. And this doesn't look good, right? We have this serial number is our column name. And then our first value is date, time, temp, intensity, button down, which those look like that's what we want our column names to be. So that's definitely not what we want. So let's have a peek at the data file itself. This one's small enough, we can just open it in R. And what we see is there's this serial number header and then a blank line and then the column names. And read CSV expects the first thing that it sees to be column names. So what we need to do is tell read CSV to start on line 3. We want to tell it to skip these first 2 lines. So let's go back and do that. And just to keep things neat here, I'm going to put a comma. Well, you have to put the comma. That's not just to put neat. But the next thing I'm going to give it is this parameter called skip equals 2. And that's going to tell it to skip the first 2 lines. So watch, when I run this, watch this data object. You're going to see it's going to change to multiple variables rather than just one. So I'm going to put my cursor here, run. Now we have 8 variables. And if we click on this, we can see now this looks much more like we would want it to. We have a date object, temperature, light intensity, etc. So that looks good. You can also see the structure by clicking this little down arrow here. This is really helpful when you're trying to remember the names of column names as you write code later. You can also see the types of variables here. So like a good one to always check is this is a date, and you can see that it read in as a date. And if it didn't read in as a date, we would know that we would want to format it as a date, which again, we're not going to cover in this video. So that's it. We've got data, and now we can do stuff with this. So the other way that I wanted to show how to read data without having to put all this the location of your files, because this is a really simple one, but sometimes when you have a whole bunch of different folders, it might be kind of a pain. So another way that we could do this is using an R project. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this and I'm not going to save it. And we're going to imagine we just opened R and this is what we have. And if in Mac anyway, we can go to File and New Project. And I don't want to save my current workspace. And then I'm not sure if this is going to pop up in the recording, but you get 3 options: new directory, existing directory, and version control. We're going to do existing directory because what we're basically going to do is create an R project in the folder where our data file is. And so when we save our scripts and everything, it's just going to go into the same place that our data file is. And so the next option that it gives you is, okay, well, what folder do you want to use? And so we can click Browse and then go, this was in Downloads. Then I click Demo Data, which is where the folder that this was in, and I click Open, and then Create Project. And you're going to see it's going to open a new RStudio window. And now we have, again, we're in that Demo Data folder, but now we have in this folder, it's created this rproj file, and our testsensor.csv is still there. So the difference here is that now if I go to create an R script and read in my data, R is already pointed at this folder. It's by default, it's looking here. And so it's going to grab this test_sensor.csv without you having to put any information about where it is on your computer, which is really handy. So let's go ahead and do the same thing as before. So we started a new R session, so we need to load the tidyverse. So that's in. And then again, we're going to create an object called data using read_CSV test_sensor.csv. So that's just the name of our file here. And again, we don't need to put any information about where it is because we're in an R project that's pointed at this folder. And then again, remember, we need to do skip equals 2. So do that. And there we go. Good to go. We've got our data. We're ready to have fun with our data. So in coming videos, I'll show a little bit more about how to format this for further analysis, or one that's a little messier than this. And then we'll also get into ggplot fun times.